Alright, so now that we have the image recolored, we need to go in and turn this into a nighttime picture. Now in order to do that, we're going to have to take out this blue sky. There is no way around it. But these trees are going to prove problematic. With the way that I've been having you edit things in the past, you would be spending hours going in here with a brush tool to mask out each and every individual piece of blue sky. Well, that's not going to need to happen because we're going to use what's called channel masking to create a very quick mask. So if we go over here to channels instead of layers, we can see the red, green, and blue color separations for this image. The one that's going to give us the highest contrast right now for the sky is blue because the sky is blue and the trees that we don't want to be masked out are black. So we're going to take the blue layer and we're going to drag that down to the plus sign to make a copy of it. Now we have a copy of the blue layer that we can do whatever we want to without changing the color of our image. So we're going to use the adjustments. Now instead, we can't use adjustment layers for our channels, but we can go to image and then adjustments, and we have all of the same adjustments that we would have from adjustment layers. We have brighten, contrast, levels, and curves. We don't have any of the color adjustment layers because, again, we're dealing with a black and white single channel. We do, however, have the invert and posterize and all that kind of stuff. But really what we need to start off with is a brightness and contrast, because we need this to be very bright so that we can get some solid good whites. And we want it to have some very high contrast where the difference between whites and blacks are extreme. Okay, that's a good start. So if we scroll in here, if we zoom in here, we are going to see some black spots forming around here where the limbs were kind of casting shadows on each other. But to start off, we're going to go next into a levels. We're going to go to adjustments and we're going to go into levels. We're going to try to get a little bit more range to come out of here. So if we move our grays down and our blacks up, we should be able to get a lot of that gray that's coming out to disappear. There we go. Alright, we've done a pretty good job, I think, of creating a complete black and white separation of where the limbs are and the sky is. Problem is, we still have a lot of, actually, you know what, we've got some problems in here with some limbs turning gray. That's not going to be good because that means those limbs are going to disappear. So we need to hit Control-Z to go back so that that does not happen. Still got some limbs turning gray in here. We're going to hit Control-Z again. So we're going to try this again with adjustments and brightness. We need to make sure that the limbs do not turn gray.
Why don't you try one side at a time?
Alright. So it looks like however we do these limbs here, we're going to be leaving out, we're going to be creating a black spot up there, but if we take the black spot away, we're going to be losing these limbs. So we're going to have to do a couple of channel masks. We'll do the first one really light so that we can keep the fine limbs in here so we don't lose those. So we're going to put it in negative 14 brightness. I'm not going to worry about that side. And now we're going to go into levels. And we're going to take out some of the grays. Alright, that looks pretty good for our lower limbs. So we're going to hit OK. Now we've got pretty much all of our limbs on the lower side done. However, the top of our image is not looking too hot. So we need to make another blue copy. So we're going to go up here to blue again. And we're going to go down to the plus sign once more. And now we need to make another do that again, except we're going to be focusing on keeping the top limbs this time. Brightness and contrast. Increase my brightness and my contrast both. Hit OK. And then we're going to go to adjustments and levels. And we're going to draw this. That side looks good. Side looks kind of okay. We need to back this up a little bit. And we're going to hit OK. All right. Right now, actually, I might keep this whole side of the image. That looks pretty tight. All right. Now, we still have some problems up here in these branches, but I think we might be able to fix that using select and mask. I'm going to try with levels just one more time. Let's correct it. See if that takes too much out of this side. No, I didn't. That was good. Alright, that looks pretty good. So from here, we're going to have to actually make some physical edits to our image so that we're only selecting the sky in the background. So we're going to go over to blue copy. Remember, this is the really dark one. We're going to keep this one because it did a very good job of selecting our limbs here on the side, and it did a very good job of selecting the edges of these limbs here at the bottom. So to keep this mask, so whatever we want to do, alright, so for this, we still have the detail of the house, and we have the detail of the grass that we need to remove. So we're going to use the brush tool, and with this, literally, whenever we paint with black, we're removing items from the mask, or from the layer. So we're just going to paint with a large black brush. We're going to cover up the grass. We're going to cover up the house. Now keep in mind, if you accidentally cover up something like the sky that you weren't intending to cover up, that's going to be a mistake. So press Ctrl Z to go back and correct that mistake. Make sure all sections of the house are selected like this. And if you click, hold shift and then click another point, you're going to create a perfectly straight line. Objective is to have the entire house turn completely black. If you miss some details at this stage, it's not that big of a deal. But we need most of the house to be black. Okay. Alright, so we want to keep the left side of the tree here, probably up to about this point when things start getting muddy. We're going to turn this section past this limb here. We're going to turn that to be all black because we don't want to keep it. And we're going to say the section past this limb here and this tree we don't want to keep. We don't want this side of the image at all. Okay, that looks pretty good. We've still got some unwanted shadows in here because we need this to be just solid black and white. So we're going to open the levels again. Adjustment, levels. And we need all of the grays to go away. So your gray and your black lines should meet. And then your whites should come to meet them as well. You're going to hit OK. Now we have a solid black and white layer with our tree on this side selected. So we're going to go over here to blue copy and we're going to name this left tree. Awesome. Now we can go over to blue copy 2. Now everything that was selected in left tree over here on this side, we can automatically turn black. So if we look up here, it's the lower limb there and the left side of the house. So everything right here, everything on this side of the tree, and on this side of that tree. What you doing?
It's waiting.
It started.
Oh, has it?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it says titties.
Alright, so I'm going to go in here. Where did my brush go? There it is. And just color in all of this grass. It needs to be black because I don't need any amount of grass or house showing in my image. And just like we did with the left tree version, we're going to go in here to the roof and make sure that none of the roof is showing. I don't know. I just do. Please don't. Yes. And actually, you know what? We could probably talk during this point because I'm probably going to fast forward it.
Okay, good. Titties. Remember, you said you're gonna be fast forwarding this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're gonna edit my videos.
Yes.
Good. Because I don't trust Dalton. I should probably just give you the videos.
Probably. I love Dalton, but
I couldn't wait.
it's probably going to be the same situation as it was with my book cover that he was going to do. And in the end, as awesome as his idea was, I'm glad that I got somebody else to do it. It turned out a lot better.
I just need to make the hair curly. Which I can find you an Afro Latina to do that.
It wouldn't be hard.
I don't know why I said Afro Latina. Just an Afro. Not even an Afro. Just curly hair in general. Don't you be thinking I'm not doing. But you do want to make it look like, you know, she's got curly hair. Just make it look like she's a black woman. Don't you fucking bother me. I know that. I can hear it.
All right, now that we're at this point, we've got we've got everything except for the tree limbs at this side selected. Now, just like we did before with this selected, we need to turn this into a pure black and white selection. So we're going to open levels again. And we're going to move grays all the way over. We're going to get blacks up, turned up. And we need to get whites and blacks only in this image, no grays. Once you're done, press OK. And awesome, we've got some good tree branch cutouts done. So now we've got a blue copy too. We're going to label this right tree. And bang. Now, when we go back to our normal image by pressing the RGB button, we're going to see all of the tree limbs and everything's going to come back. But we can do something amazing, and we can create a channel selection by holding Control and clicking on the thumbnail for left tree. We will select all of the white areas of that image, and by holding Control and clicking the thumbnail for right, Control Shift actually, till that little plus button appears, and clicking the thumbnail for right tree, we will now select all of the right tree images. But there's a problem. I didn't do right tree correctly, looks like. Yeah, I messed it up. So, I need to go back into the blue layer, reduplicate it, and work on these levels and brightnesses a little bit more.
What happened?
I messed up.
How?
Alright, so I'm going to go in here and paint everything except the part that I did not include before black. Okay, we're going to name this layer Fix. Alright, so with RGB selected, I'm going to hit Control and I'm going to click left tree, Control Shift, click right tree, and Control Shift, click Fix. Oh, it looks like I still managed to leave a piece out. Okay, back to blue. Let's do this again.
What are you leaving out?
There's like a little tiny piece.
Where? Oh.
No, right? It's infuriating. Yum, 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 yum.
What's that?
need to. Okay, we're going to label this fix 2, not 23, fix 2. Alright, hold control and select all of those guys. Make sure you're on the RGB channel. And now everything should be selected, except I got some stray selections down here. Don't have to make another channel mask for that. I can just use the lasso tool, make sure that my subtract from is on, and I'm going to subtract these selections. Don't need them. Okay. Now I can go back to layers. We're going to click on our layer 0, and we're going to click the mask tool. What this should have done is isolated the sky and taken away everything, including the trees and the house. If you don't see any tree limbs, or if you just see the edges of tree limbs and you don't see anything of the house, you've done this correctly. Now we need to flip this around so that only the sky is cut out. To do that, we're just going to simply press Control-I. Alright, so we've isolated it so that only the tree limbs are showing. However, if we zoom in, we'll notice that there's gaps between the tree limbs. Some of the tree limbs, like the pieces of tree limbs, are actually still showing. And just generally, it looks really messy. Well, that's not going to look very good in the finished product, so we need to go in and fix this. To do this, we can use the Select and Mask. Now that it's selected, we can refine it by using Select and Mask. To do that, we're going to double-click on the layer mask. And then we should get into Select and Mask. Okay, so we're going to turn feather on. Feather's going to be up to, like, we're going to say 1.5 pixels. And then we're going to shift the edge outwards. We can turn feather down if we want a little bit less fuzziness. We can increase contrast there. Ooh, never mind. Don't want that high of contrast. Alright. So this is looking pretty good. If we use the zoom, if we use the zoom tool, move out, kind of pan over, we're going to check the other side. Looks like we've accidentally selected some darker blue here. That shouldn't be too big of a worry for us, though. Okay. And it looks like this area over here has started showing in as well. You know what? I don't think we'll notice the darker areas in the final image anyways, so we're just going to call that good enough. Make sure that we have our feathering and edge detection turned on enough. Alright, actually, if we go down to output settings and dechromate the colors, we're going to get rid of that blue glow that was going to go on around the edges of our limbs. So with that done, we're going to hit OK. And now our mask looks a lot more complete than it did before. And now we should have the sky perfectly cut out of our image. This is the end of part 2, and I will see you in part 3.